Excellent connection. Think we're good? Yeah, okay, very good. So I guess that's what I do is flip back over to here. So I'm gonna watch myself live, right? Control it. Keep the chat right there. Pardon me, guys. I'm learning this, figuring this out. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Happy Saturday, December 14th. My name's Zach. Thanks for coming to hang out in my basement. So, yeah, who knows what we're going to get into. I don't know if anybody's going to show up here. I have, like, no followers. You know, I don't even know if people see my stuff on YouTube. I make content on YouTube here, albeit not specifically frequently, you know. Although I'm trying my best. But I make content on here, excuse me. And lately I've been probably writing more articles on Substack. And now that I'm learning OBS, I can definitely, start changing my format a bit. I'd like to share my Substack articles and go over them here on YouTube. So that's something I'm probably going to explore here in the future. But yeah, I don't even know. I don't have anybody paying attention to it. So, I really, the title here, I want to talk about geopolitics, world events, and the Luigi thing. Like to talk about Syria and what's going on there. It's been a busy year, busy season, and man, just a lot, one after another. It's a lot to digest, and those are probably my two main topics. I don't think anybody's even coming in or watching. So, yeah, let's talk about what are some recent articles that I wrote. Over on Substack. Well, let's start the day of Syria, right? This would be, I would say the day, I guess it would be the day Assad fell, right? So I was just finishing up an article on the civil war, right? This restart of the civil war in Syria. And self-imposed media blackout. It's tough when you spend so much time creating, and especially like time-worthy content. And I got to do better at producing faster, but it's difficult to, I try to not pay attention to certain things depending on the angles of what I'm writing. And I like to get it done in a timely fashion. If I'm making any type of statements or, taking any type of going out on a limb in any way that has to do with, future, I guess is what I'm saying. And so self-imposed media blackout. And I'm finishing this article, and like everything else I write, turns out to be quite sizable. And it's over there. Just finishing it up. I mean, I probably had 2 paragraphs to go. I had the whole closing done. That was it, pretty much, right? So I had kind of just finished tying all this other stuff together. I had the whole other body of the closing done. All I needed to do was pretty much tie, that stuff together with about 2 paragraphs. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can like take a break, go get something to eat. Flip over, end the media blackout, and I see that literally, like, I don't even know, hour, something ago, Assad, has left Syria, and they're in Damascus, and Syria's fallen. So, jeez, the news moves so fast that I can't even finish an article before it completely changes and everything completely shifts. You getting comfy over there, buddy? My dog fam's cozied in on the couch. Yeah, so we're down here in my basement. I was finishing that article right over here in front of the couch, or in front of the fire on the couch, and it's geez, what can we say? I mean, go over to Substack, check it out. My Substack, Zachary Simone, just like YouTube here. We'll see if I start another channel. I feel like everything's coming off of this YouTube channel, and it's generally dirtied, for lack of a better word. I think everybody, if anyone sees this, you'd know what I'm talking about. And so I'm curious at this point if starting another channel wouldn't change things. But as of now, everything's under Zachary Simone here, and Substack Zachary Simone, and go check it out. Boy, what was the title of that one? The West. Man, what was the title of that one? I gotta check it out. Hold on. I'll bring it up here. Actually, you know what? Why don't we? Let me see if we can share it. See if we can do this. You know how to do this, bro. You can do this. I think my brain just blanked because I wasn't looking at myself for a second. I had to remember that it's just rolling, and I gotta just do what I'm doing. So, pardon me. I'm figuring this out. Okay, working my way over. Let's see. Post. Here we go. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Hop over to. Whoops. Sorry about that. OBS. Now I'm not quite sure the most proficient way of doing this, so you gotta pardon with me. Let me see if anybody's over in my stream at all. Yeah, nobody's watching. It don't matter. So the most proficient way of sharing this, because I know there's ways that you can share it where you're hopping around, like within the app. So I guess that would be sharing within the app itself, the browser. Or you can just share the URL. So give me a second. Caption, browser in general. Okay. So hold on. Let's try this. Woo! Look at that. Okay. So now I don't know how this works. If go like this, see something quick. Okay. Does it not move? See, I don't know how to control that in the OBS. Pardon me, guys, if there's anyone watching. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scroll within this window so you can see it, because it seems like that is locked up over on OBS. Okay. Yeah, I gotta figure this out. So anyway, what that is there, we'll look at the title and then I'll take it away. The Dirty Death of Syria, Victim of Neocolonial Ambition, right? And my papers are typically a little longer. I'm trying to work on writing shorter work, but it's a pretty comprehensive look at really the state of the Civil War, kind of through my view, right at the day, right up until the day where Assad fell and he left. And yeah, so I think it's a pretty nice nice little snapshot of time. I'm glad that I finished it when I did. As fast as it started, and before I could finish this article, it was over. Considering very recent events, I'm going to publish this now and go eat something. Oh, that's right. I didn't change I never changed the subtitle. So let me see. I'm pretty sure I whacked this all the way through. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah. So, and all my stuff is cited and 15 footnote citations. Yeah, I have to take the subtitles off because the article's I went back and edited it, and it's pretty much finished. So, but yeah, check that out over at Substack here, and we'll go check out another one. Here's one from January 23rd, 2023. Let's see. Trash out. This one's called Embalmers Speak Out. Bad sweaters and clots that prove the few eccentrics on YouTube correct. And don't forget about everyone dropping dead. So this is from January 23rd, 2023. And so I got all sorts of stuff on there. Excuse me there. Be welcome to go stop by my Substack and check that out. Let me see. I'll go to... Yeah, that Syrian article is pretty... I thought it was pretty good, man. I thought it was a nice take on the Civil War. And like I said, I'm glad I finished it when I did. So yeah, it just put out yesterday. This one here. Share this over you guys. Get rid of that. I'll be better about OBS. I'm still learning this, so thank you guys for being patient. Okay. So this one I finished yesterday. Talking about Joe Biden's term here and his lame duck transitional period. The lame duck limp to January 20th. Look at the final 2.5 months of Joe Biden's term. The big guy's already broken precedents and made history, as far as lame ducks go anyway. 5 weeks to go, and we're only halfway through. So this one's pretty interesting, and frankly, I spent a good bit of time talking about the ATACMS issue and generally like the policy shift of the escalation with Russia, and how that was something that was kind of frozen for months, and all of a sudden after the election, boy, it's fair game, and everything seemed to change. So I really did focus on the ATACMS quite a bit, but one of the things that I didn't give, I don't think, enough time to, excuse me, was the one part, and Hunter and everything. Hunter's like great. That's like, he lied about it, but what else hasn't he lied about? And that's what they do. They like concede to their corruption and lies and these little things that don't matter, right? But they lie about everything. So, but Hunter, like, whatever, man. The fact that his whole family, him and his dad, like the crimes that they're involved in, God knows what's only on servers on the half of Ukraine that's left. I'm sure Democrats got some servers over there, and they got some. I bet you there's some eye-opening communications on those things. Just my guess, though. So I'm sure whatever Hunter's involved in with his dad, that is going to tie into that, and a pardon for Hunter is Joe going back on his word. But right in there, right in there, they slipped in a pardon for Anthony Fauci and a blanket pardon for Anthony Fauci. Let me bring this up really quick, guys. Excuse me. I just want to bring my... Yeah, I don't have anybody in here still. Hold on a second. Let me rearrange this. Yo, if there's anybody watching this, if this is actually going down somebody's screen, come check it out, man. I'm just gonna shoot it a little bit here. So yeah, it's I was talking about this article I just wrote. Excuse me, and I brought up from a Substack, and it's talking about Joe Biden's lame duck term here, and this Anthony Fauci pardon. Unbelievable, just unbelievable. I only devoted a very raw 2 paragraphs to that article to it. I certainly didn't hold back at all. This dude is nothing short of a murderer. The the blanket pardon on Fauci just obviously speaks volumes, and I don't know if it was how many days before the pardon, but I know in the last week or 2, maybe before the pardon here, the House or Senate, one of these bodies and one of the committees in one of these bodies. Now, these are the committees. This would have been the committee that would have had Fauci and other people up there testifying. A lot of the clips that we're all used to seeing regarding COVID of people testifying in front of the government. This committee is what published the report that I'm about to reference here. So this report came out and basically was like, we know so many things about what happened in COVID, and we can tell you this. This is the official government inquiry finding, right? And it basically copped to the fact that this thing was made in a lab in Wuhan. Gain of function research was used. So, Ego Health Alliance. Now, I guess we should talk about gain of function research, right? This is the same gain of function research that he's testifying about up in front of our government, right? Remember the clips about him just getting roasted from Rand Paul? That's the gain of function research we're talking about. So, what was the next one? Eco Health Alliance. So, anyone that has been paying attention to the paper trail that was behind the research of this thing, right? I'm talking about what came from North Carolina. I believe there was a lab in Winnipeg, maybe, Canada, right? I believe it was Winnipeg. And then over to Wuhan. So this was like the chain of custody of the research of this thing, okay? If I remember the story correctly, I believe under Obama's administration, we altered the laws regarding the research of this stuff. So this is when I believe they halted the research at Dietrich or North Carolina Labs, quote, right? Let's just call them that. And it left the country. This may have been dually happening at the Canadian and the North Carolina lab, and then they both went to Wuhan, or it might have went North Carolina, Canada, Wuhan. But these things happened. It ended up in Wuhan, and it revolved around a change in our laws regarding the research, right? This is my general statement here. Seemingly looking like they're trying to, hey, we're not doing this, that's for sure. Look, we just made a law about it. So conveniently, it was such that the same people researching this could take this over to China and pursue it in Wuhan, the infamous city and lab of Wuhan, right? Now, at first, these same people were telling us that they took it over to China, and some idiot went out and had sex with a bat or started eating what were those things called? A pendulin, or I forget what those things called. Those things are so cute, though. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous stuff, man. Ridiculous. So this is all proven now. Proven out of this committee report that was all lie. All of those stories, wet market, complete made up. 100% fiction. Talking about Stephen King stuff. Right? That's what this committee report confirms. So, in addition, right, on the flip side of this is what this is saying is that no, this was definitely made in the lab. Definitely made in the lab. And as a matter of fact, EcoHealth Alliance were the ones that made it and pursued the gain of function research. And they're the ones who paid for everything and how it ended up in Wuhan. Anthony Fauci, his name was on a lot of these checks, and he was the one signing these things for a lot of this research through EcoHealth Alliance. So this government finding report saying we know it was made in a lab. We know it was made through the same gain of function research that Fauci got grilled over and was highly talked about, discussed, debated, buzzworded, right? If that's a word, worded. Same thing. But EcoHealth Alliance, not Anthony Fauci's the one tied to it, right? So they kept his name out of it. But then the findings report went further on by saying, if I remember correctly, pardon me because I'm referencing memory, excuse me. Essentially what it did from that point, it was made in a lab, gain of function research, EcoHealth Alliance was the bad guy. I'm pretty sure at that point, really, what did they do? At that point, if I remember correctly, this is where it kind of steered toward covering up for pharma, right? Because that's what this report did. This report really made me sick. It's a good example of how they handle things on the run. They're gonna let things develop and play them the best way they can. So in this situation, there were people that had this paper trail from Fauci since the beginning. I was watching Dr. Paul Cottrell here on YouTube, who's certainly shadowed hard, right? And I don't know if anybody watches his stuff, right? I'll be seeing like single digits in his live streams, and that's crazy because in the early days of COVID, he was so on top of exactly what was going on. The guy's a super smart polymath, brilliant dude. Literally has degrees and did the work in all these different fields, and so he has experience in this stuff and enough to talk about it for sure. And he knew straight away that there were parts of the genealogy of this thing that weren't natural. Straight away, he was talking about the Farron cleavage site. I'm convinced like that even came from him. A lot of the people that I was watching early on, I saw them be seemingly sources of information that got out. Hi, buddy. Chris Martinson laid a lot of groundwork for people in a lot of different ways in that way. And different people. Hold on, let me see if I can bring my dog up here. 1 second, buddy. 1 second. Okay, come on, man. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Here, no, go ahead. Okay. You gotta sit down? Okay. Come on, you gotta sit down. Here, go this way. There you go. Good boy. Okay. Yeah, Chris Martinson. I saying? Fam, you distracted me, buddy. Paul Cottrell. Paul Cottrell, Chris Martinson, these guys early on that were delivering the truth on COVID. And so, Paul, there was a guy here, was it Gary Webb? I can't remember his first name, but last name Webb. But he had all the paperwork from early on. And dude seems legit to me. He's just a dude that's about like hard facts. And that's true about his history. He's pretty much someone that tries to cover up, or uncover the dirt in real terms on corruption and things like that. And he likes finding the hard evidence. So he held true to that in this, and he came forth pretty quick, developed this paper trail that linked this research, and the whole gone from North Carolina labs to over there. They were talking about that, I don't even know, within months, man. I mean, by like, yeah, I mean, within, they were talking about this stuff by like, I don't know, March, April, May, something like that. Anyway, what's buddy? Yeah, Fam's a good boy here. He's a good boy. So, yeah, Fauci, man. We knew he's been dirty. Like, everybody's been right on top of this. The media's been playing, protecting him and running misdirections for him the whole time. And that's where this stops, man. Like, this findings report is not going to do, nothing's going to happen here, right? And it admits, oh man, you guys got us. You pretty much got us. You got us. Boy, this was made in a lab. Jeez, and this Ego Health Alliance, right? But then from there, like, that's where it stopped, because like all the other points of this findings report, like, literally made me want to puke. I forget what it is. I should have it, but the bullet points were, they just started to go in, corporate pharma's favor, in favor of all the lockdowns. I think they admitted that, yeah, that's right. It did have something to say about masks, and that basically, like, decisions were made that were not based on real science, right? So they gave us that. I think it had something to do. Oh yeah, that's right. It said about how there was an unrealistic push towards, developing these vaccines at a rapid pace when we had stuff that was off patent, sitting around that could have worked and is proven to be, to work now, right? And they're talking about, all those things. I mean, the Mectin thing is just crazy, dude. That seems to be like possibly a wonder drug. That's a whole other story. We can talk about that sometime. So they're giving us those things, but then the rest of it is just like corporate influence. You can see they crafted this thing, and they just covered the government's butt. They covered corporate America's butt for shutting the world down and the country down, but keeping themselves open, of course, right? And that was that, like, nothing about the shots. And this is where, like, people, I'm like technically independent. I really like disinvolved myself with politics for a long time. I only really try to involve myself anymore to the point because I think it matters to try to wake people up as to the truth. We need to move past the two-party system, right? Two-party politics is completely obsolete in this country. That's been a tagline of mine for a long time, and I'll forever be saying it. Our institutions are dead and corrupt. Okay, this report proves that, right? This report proves that. Um, it proves that two-party politics is obsolete, because look what's going to happen. Everybody was so happy, and because they had this whole drama about Trump, right? Oh man. Now I don't know what happened in Butler, man. It sure seems like they came for him, right? I'm not questioning that, right? But the bottom line with him, man, is no matter what, he's still, for me, and I like him. I think he's great for a lot of reasons, right? But like, think about this. For me, he's still wrong on the two biggest issues, in my opinion. In my opinion, those being big pharma and the experiment in Israel. He's gonna facilitate Israel potentially even more or in different ways than Joe Biden did. And maybe that's the point, like under Trump, they did all these diplomatic things. They allowed him to move the capital to Jerusalem. um, Biden let them genocide a whole people and start wars. Maybe they work in tandem, right? I seen this thing with Trump, and they've been playing up this thing about how he's gonna make peace and blah 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 blah, right? um Oh yeah, and like that's great. I want peace, man. You know what I mean? But like, it seems like there's a bit of a setup here, because like the one interview is like, something about what does he want to do to end the war, blah blah blah, and he's like, I just want to stop the fighting or the killing. I just want the killing to stop. And I just want the killing to stop. And with reference to what I said just now about him and Biden with regards to Israel, it seems like they're setting Trump up to come in and play, hard good cop, man, to bad cop with Israel. Because essentially that's what we've played so far. I mean, if anyone out there, I don't think many Americans pay attention, man, because if you would see Blinken and these other fools in our State Department and in our diplomatic team or whatever, dude, them getting up there and talking about how they've been trying for a ceasefire, or how about like at the White House, the press secretary, oh yeah, as always, we're trying for that ceasefire. Meanwhile, so many people are off today in Gaza again, right? Meanwhile, they're committing war crimes again. Oh man, we're trying for a ceasefire. Yeah, what do you think? Killing more, killing more, killing more. I mean, come on, man. This is what they've done the whole time. They've played this good cop, bad cop. The rest of the world, in that regard, laughs at us. You think like they don't see? They see that right through that. They've made they've made the decision that we've made our decision. That we're all talk. This ceasefire is just lip service. I've been saying that since the get-go, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. So it proves that Trump's going to come in. He's going to do the same thing with Israel. That's the big issue of the day, man. This is the big issue of the day. Okay? Aside from the fact of how it attaches to the rest of our diplomacy in West Asia, aside from the fact that it's basically a war of currency, a reserve currency for the world, and trade war turned hot. I mean, the Third World War's already started. It's already happening, right? Aside from all these different things, Israel is the issue. This all started because Israel was the colony of the neo-colonial corporate empire after World War II, right? That's probably, there we go. Yeah, they didn't exist, right? Post Second World War, it was basically the Western world trying to keep a foothold in the Arab world with Israel. So there was already Jewish immigration. You can't deny that, right? There's Jewish immigration that seemed to have been taking place through like the 20s and 30s. However, the West, through like the League of Nations, the failing British Empire, or fledgling, you should say, right? Um, they didn't do anything to stop this. It seemed to be something that was planned, and that's why I said through 20s and 30s. It seems to be something that was planned at this when they had the Balfour Declaration in 1917. So only after that was when this immigration started. So there seems to have been a plan that started to start pushing Jews from Europe into the Levant and around Jerusalem, right? Under the pretext of reclaiming their homeland. Now, let's just think about some. Go back 50 years, 40 years. World War One hasn't happened, whatever. The Jews are just the people who are maligned, potentially, floating through Europe, no place to go. It could even be that, you know, a little while before that in history, they were really held to blame for killing Christ. Who knows what the real truth is of the state of, the Jewish diaspora pre-World War One, in truth. However, what I'm saying is that if you go back in time to before the Balfour Declaration, okay, there was nothing, no idea of an Israel, nothing like that. And Palestine and the rest of the Levant were areas controlled by Arabs for hundreds, if not over 1,000 years. Christianity last tried to get in there during the Crusades. Now, however, I'm pretty sure that, just as, that has a lot to do with Syria and Lebanon today. They're trying to destroy communities that can live in diversity, right? And that's what I was going to say, is that in these areas, that's what the Syrian state was. It wasn't a religious state because, there has so many different minority groups that if the major religion of the majority was represented by the state, it would be like an intimidating thing to the minority groups of the state. So it was an important thing to not link the majority religion with the government. Makes sense. It was an important part of Syrian secularism, the diversity and different minority groups, right? And how they were accepted and the society integrated. Fam, stop it. So that's something they're trying to destroy today in Syria and Lebanon. So, like I said, this was the origin of, or the history of the Levant. Now, imagine if you're Europe, leaders in Europe, whoever, you're the they. And I'd imagine that the Jewish plan, the same people that have been, we're talking media banks, everything, right? I'm sure that was cooking and going for a quite long time before this Balfour Declaration, right? However, and that don't change what I'm saying. But imagine you're these different entities, right? Anglos in Europe, who were parts of the Crusades, apparently, right? Different entities, Jewish bankers, whatever, who have their agreement with the Church of Rome. The Church of Rome, where these are the parties we're talking about. And you want to get a foothold in that area of the world. Maybe it is legit to get to center. Maybe it is a replay of the religious wars of the Crusades, potentially, right? I could just, what we're looking at, what we're living through could be as simple as that. Maybe they're building upon it and using it as justification to go for resources and just, maybe it's just raw neo-colonial expansion, empire building. No different than Julius Caesar or Hannibal Barca, right? Lenin, So Israel is a colony, is a neocolonial territorial holding of the corporate oligarchy of the West following the Second World War. Apparently, they decided this, like I said, with that Balfour Declaration. And if you look at it that way, then you could see that, like, maybe these people who were probably ready, right? They were probably like, they had been doing this a long time. They had power, these different power structures. They controlled them up by that point. Well, think about how we know that the different religious texts have been altered. Think about how, like, think about how that could affect the situation if this group that's claiming a right to this land really doesn't have a right to that land. What if the right that they're claiming is fictional and was put in there during these same edits that we're talking about? If people, like, there's a lot of research being done on this stuff. The Hebrew language isn't quite as old and original as we think it is. Think about this. I know, what was it? Yeah, that would have been like 47, 48. So following the Second World War, and generally speaking, this is what happens. But following the Second World War, they had, I don't know if they whipped it out. There's a big long story. I don't want to make claims on the Dead Sea Scrolls, but the bottom line is the Dead Sea Scrolls were found at a pretty critical moment, right? This was when the UN was debating whether or not to create Israel as a state, carving it out of Palestine, right? And they did that illegally in 1947. And I think it was later that year or the following year in 48 when the Dead Sea Scrolls were whipped out. And, this is, I believe, is it Hebrew on those? Whatever. So it's archaeological evidence that supports the Jewish presence in the Levant. They've always been on a look for that, right? On a search for that. They continue to do anything to, as far as the opposite goes. They are constantly searching to destroy evidence of older history. The reason they want to destroy these older historical, the historical remnants of these older civilizations is because, like, they were never there, and they need to get them out of there so they can continue to write this history that has Jews going between Egypt and doing all this different bullshit that we hear about in the Bible. That's just an idea, just LARPing here, right? So it seems to me that if you got this Balfour Declaration that you finally get into play, which basically what it does is it's an official statement by the British Empire that it's their priority to get the Jews back to their homeland in the Levant. So that's the big play, and that started then. You know what I mean? Man, if you had, having this, obviously the religious text that supports these claims is, like, super key. So I've been doing this research into Israel and all these events, current events, and it's just everything is in a brand new perspective for me. It is the biggest deal of the day. It is neo-colonial. It's a continuation, obviously, of the Second World War. We're right in the Third World War. You're looking at it's a neo-colonial front between the corporate West and the rest of the world. And recently, the rest of the world has grown tired of being abused, grown tired of being lied to, grown tired of being taken advantage of and being bullied. In Palestinians' case, being slaughtered and genocided. And they've, in recent years, begun to gather together. And this war is, also a financial war. And that's because the rest of the world is gathered mostly under the BRICS nations, pretty exclusively here, and continues to do so rapidly. So you have on one hand the BRICS nations, and also basically refer themselves as the global south, and then you have the West, which isn't that many. And as far as this Israel situation, it's really the U.S. and Israel. There's some European countries, obviously, that stand a little bit closer with Israel, right? But by and large, we in the U.S. are getting hung with the blame of supporting them, being their number one supporter. Now, the truth is that all of the West is the neo-colonial corporate oligarchical empire, right? And we function in lockstep. And go ahead, fam. You can go. So, go ahead. So, this started with the Balfour Declaration, right? What that did was that gave what appears to be a Western European Jewish alliance a foothold in the Middle East. Fam, it's mom, buddy. Stop it. You can go up. Go ahead. So that's the source. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so if understanding the history, Israel never existed. The Jews didn't have a nation in the Middle East. We call it the Middle East and West Asia and the Levant. And the Crusades were largely, European. And then you have this Eastern European presence of Jewish descent, this Ashkenazi, pardon me. So it looks like there was a play, potentially, to use these altered religious texts and write into history the existence of Israel, Jews, not the existence, the hype up. I don't know. I don't know the truth, right? I don't know. I can't say it. I claim to know. I'm just just hypothesizing here. I don't know the extent, right? The truth to everything. But it seems as though, potentially, the justification for a Jewish state in the Levant could have been assisted through altering of the religious text. It was only after this Balfour Declaration that the Jewish refugee thing started. So you had all these Jews that were amassed in Eastern Europe. And I should do more research on the history and see what came first and everything. But I know that anti-Semitism seems to be something that was played up. I'm curious if it wasn't like orchestrated to give a reason for them to start immigrating. Either way, it seems like World War II and everything. Like there was something legitimate behind what they were up to. The Third Reich, the claims that they were making about Jewish impacts in Europe and stuff like that. That was like a widespread belief and understanding amongst Europeans. Apparently, these were like very real things. Who knows what the truth is? The truth could be that like they were still holding, taking responsibility and for the death of Christ, and like they carried that, and who knows what the truth is. But it seems like there was all these Jews in Eastern Europe, and there was an encouraged series of, or I should say, immigration began to the Middle East. So you have the Balfour Declaration, then you have all this immigration under claims of anti-Semitism in Europe. We got to leave. They don't like us. Where should we go? Well, I guess we'll go back to our homeland. That makes sense. Cool. So they start migrating. Fam, will you stop it? They start migrating back to the Middle East. Dude, stop. Do you want to come up here? Come. Okay. All right, dude. We're good. Come on. Lay down. Come on. So, okay, buddy. All right. So it seems like there could have been a legit plan going on that involved intended immigration to the Middle East, to the Levant. Excuse me. By certain parties, right? Jews immigrating to the Levant, supported by certain parties in Europe. That could have been the case here post World War One. Now, it could have been the case that Britain seems to be, let me put it this way, I was trying to figure out how I want to word this. The fall of the British Empire, it seems like they were trying to dice up everything the best way they could. They were fledgling, their time was over. They had just finally dissected the Ottoman Empire, which was a lot to do about a lot up to that point. And it seemed like they wanted to shift into something else. That's what this is like kind of all about, right? So they're chopping up the Ottoman Empire, they're chopping up the British Empire, and they seemed pretty intent on making the rest of these territories into states all across the world, right? Decolonizing. So following World War One and World War Two, then this is when you have the UN formed after World War Two, and this is when you have all of the different Arab states come into existence. I think there's probably other places around the world that were coming into statehood around the time too. So dude, that's mad annoying, bro. Mad annoying. I know you're chewing on purpose. You're just being as loud as you can and just wanting attention. Do you want to hang out and chill, or do you want me to take you upstairs? I'll take you upstairs. You want me to take you upstairs? Okay. Give me a second. All right, all right. Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I've been on for 50 minutes. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna come back and pop back on, and we're gonna finish talking about. We'll finish talking about pick up the immigration into Europe right around the time of World War II with the Jewish question and the question of Palestine. All right, man. Be cool, be cool. If anyone was watching that, I don't think they were, but hey, if you're out there and you're listening, have a good day. I love you, and be good. Till next time, man.